A week doesn't sound like much. 7 days pass whether you change your life or not. But what if I told you that 1 week was enough to break patterns that had controlled me for years? Not through motivation, not through hustle, not through pretending to be positive, but through 5 old ideas from Stoic philosophy that hit way harder than any modern self-help trick. In this video, I'm walking you through the 5 habits I practiced for just 1 week, how they worked in real life, where I failed, what surprised me, and why these habits quietly rewired how I think, react, and live. Stick with me, because the 5th habit was the hardest, and the one that changed everything. Before we start, let me say this clearly, none of these habits are flashy. No cold showers at 4 a.m. No affirmations shouted at mirrors. No fake confidence. These habits work because they are boring, simple, and honest. That's also why most people ignore them. Habit 1 was the habit of controlling my attention. Not my time. Not my schedule. My attention. Most people think their problem is lack of discipline. It's not. The real problem is that your attention is being dragged around all day like a dog on a leash. Notifications, opinions, news, drama, comments, comparisons. The Stoics talked about this thousands of years ago, even without phones. Marcus Aurelius wrote that if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. So for 1 week, I practiced this. I treated my attention like money. If I wouldn't pay for it, I wouldn't give it. The first day was uncomfortable. I caught myself opening apps without knowing why. I reread messages that didn't matter. I replayed old conversations in my head like broken songs. And that's when it hit me. Most mental suffering is unpaid labor. You're working for free on things that don't benefit you. So I made a rule. When something tried to grab my attention, I asked one question: does this help me live better right now? If the answer was no, I let it go. Not with force. Not with anger. Just with disinterest. A rude comment. Not useful. Scroll. Bad news I can't act on. Not useful. Move on. Imaginary arguments in my head. Not useful. Drop it. By day 3, my mind felt quieter. Not empty. Clear. Like a room after you clean it. You don't add anything, you just remove what doesn't belong. The Stoics didn't try to control the world. They controlled where they looked. Habit 2 was negative visualization. This one sounds dark, but it's the opposite. Most people think Stoics were gloomy. They weren't. They were realistic. Seneca advised people to imagine loss, not to suffer twice, but to stop taking things for granted. So every morning for 1 week, I spent 2 minutes imagining something going wrong. Not everything. Just one thing. One day, I imagined losing my phone. Another day, my job. Another day, my health. I didn't spiral. I didn't dramatize. I just pictured it calmly and asked, how would I handle this? Something strange happened. Instead of feeling scared, I felt grateful. I noticed how much I already had. And during the day, small problems stopped feeling like disasters. When the internet slowed down, I didn't rage. When plans changed, I adapted. When someone disappointed me, I wasn't shocked. Why? Because my mind had already accepted that life doesn't owe me comfort. Most people are upset not because things go wrong, but because they expected them not to. Negative visualization removes false expectations. And when expectations drop, peace rises. Habit 3 was speaking less, and meaning more. Epictetus said we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. But modern life encourages the opposite. Everyone wants to react, comment, explain, defend, prove. For 1 week, I practiced restraint in speech. I didn't try to be silent. I tried to be intentional. I paused before replying. I avoided explaining myself when it wasn't needed. I stopped trying to win arguments. At first, it felt like weakness. Then it felt like power. I noticed that many conversations are traps. People don't want truth, they want validation. Or conflict. Or attention. When I stopped feeding those traps, something changed. People respected me more. Not because I spoke louder, but because I spoke less. There's a Stoic idea that dignity comes from self-command. And nothing shows self-command like knowing when to stay quiet. One moment stood out. Someone tried to provoke me with a subtle insult. Old Muwaldvi fired back with sarcasm. Numi just smiled and said nothing. The silence made them uncomfortable. Not me. That's when I realized, you don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. Habit 4 was voluntary discomfort. This one hurts a little. And that's the point. The Stoics believed comfort weakens us when we depend on it too much. So they practiced small discomforts on purpose, to stay strong when real discomfort arrived. For 1 week, I chose one small discomfort each day. Cold water at the end of a shower. Walking instead of driving. Eating simpler food, sitting with boredom instead of grabbing my phone. Nothing extreme. Just enough to remind my mind that discomfort won't kill me. By day 4, my tolerance improved. I complained less. I delayed gratification more easily. I stopped panicking when things felt hard. Discomfort stopped being an enemy. It became training. Most people collapse at the first sign of discomfort, not because it's unbearable, but because they've never practiced carrying it. Strength isn't built in comfort. It's built in chosen resistance. Habit 5 was the most difficult, separating what I control from what I don't. This is the core of Stoicism. And almost nobody actually practices it. Every morning, I wrote down 2 lists in my head. What I control. My actions. My effort. My reactions. My values. What I don't control. Other people. Outcomes. Luck. The past. Then during the day, whenever I felt stressed, angry, or anxious, I asked, which list is this in? If it wasn't in my control, I let it go. Not emotionally at first. Logically. You can't calm a storm by shouting at the sky. By the end of the week, my stress dropped. Not because my life became easier, but because I stopped fighting reality. Most people exhaust themselves trying to control the uncontrollable. Stoicism teaches you to redirect that energy inward, where it actually works. Here's what changed after 1 week. I slept better. I reacted slower, and smarter. I felt less offended, that I felt more grounded. Not invincible. Not perfect. Just steadier. These habits didn't make me superhuman. They made me less fragile. And that's the real win. Stoicism isn't about being emotionless. It's about not being ruled by emotions. You don't need years to start. You need a week. One honest week. Start small. Choose one habit. Practice it badly. Then keep going. Because the life you want isn't built in huge moments. It's built in quiet decisions, made daily, when nobody is watching.